Hello, you're listening to Newhouse Knows, where you go when you need to know. Your hosts today are...
Rob Platt, a.k.a. Professor Newhouse, and my trusty sidekick,
Ralph.
a.k.a.
Aaron Michelle.
And today we have Zach at the board as usual.
But it's just an intimate group today. You just get the three of us.
John is working with his client or something.
Yeah, John is still up to his neck in work, which is a good thing. You know, praise God. And Demery is running to other things that she has to take care of.
And my husband abandoned me because he doesn't love me anymore.
He did, when we know that. It's
Well,
sad.
that's because Ethan's a jerk.
Yeah, but...
Oh, yeah, he's not here either. He's an ass.
He sure can be. But so can I. So
we miss our guy. But the three of us are going to pick up from our last episode, which we were talking about, Zach.
We were talking about taking the first bite of the elephant.
Which is?
Vote. And voting and knowing what you're voting for, especially in your local elections and not just your big ones like presidents.
Yeah, and so you might have to put a couple hours in an election, but really, I mean, how much time is that? It's not much. It's a choice that you have to make. Now, Aaron Michelle, I'm very proud of you because over the years you have gone from a young woman who was like, "Really, Dad, come on," to
I was rather apathetic.
yes, the apathy of youth.
Well, but see, I was two, but I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know nothing. I worked on the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, and I didn't know nothing else besides.
I mean, in fairness, or not in fairness, in full disclosure, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Young me was the precise person that we were just talking about. I was so overwhelmed with just trying to survive my day-to-day and trying to put one foot in front of the other and figure out what I was doing, that the idea of even trying to keep up with politics or figure out what was going on or where to start or where to go or what to think, what to believe was so overwhelming that it almost created an apathy.
Well, it also they don't prepare you for it.
No.
And let me say something in fairness to the system. The society I grew into, very different than the one you grew into, for a number of reasons. For example, and we talk about technology. Technology radically changed the society you went into. It radically changed how you get data. It radically changed how you communicate. It radically changed how much time it took to do a task. But one thing it did is it radically changed people in tactile tasks. People that used to do things, you say you grew up on a farm. Mm-hmm. Well, I grew up under a farmer. My dad had been a farmer, grew up in a farming family, and he went into construction and went into Jacksonville. I was always taught there was an intellectual side. You do things that are intellectually stimulating, but there are things you do with your hands. Took care of the yard, mowed the grass, did this, did that. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. What I'm saying is there was time to do those things. And your generation was pushed towards, quite frankly, what we would call today white-collar tasking, I guess. Society was very, going into, like now, to make it as a farmer. How are you going to make it as a farmer? Major corporations have got most of the farms. An independent farmer, very tough.
Well, but it's also one of those, like, even as an independent farmer, you still now have to deal with more a technology aspect.
Precisely.
Than ever before.
How we irrigate, everything.
The farmer that my granddad was no longer exists. Like once that generation of farmers done, it's gone. Because, technology has stepped in with every. I mean, they have computer chips.
What did the technology replace? His generational knowledge. That is scary. I remember one time we had a guy working for us. I was a builder, and this is back when you were very young, Aaron. And we were taking him home. He didn't have a car. We picked him up in the morning. We took him to work. He was just a great guy. But he was a farmer. He started talking about farming. And the guy was just quiet. He seemed kind of country and whatnot. And when he started talking about farming, he was a PhD.
And
It was amazing.
one of the worst mistakes you can make is to think that these farmers are stupid. No. My granddad was one of the smartest men around. He worked for General Electric also. He helped patent things for General Electric, but that man was highly intelligent. Highly intelligent, and you go talk to you go down there deep in the country, and you find yourself a farmer. You'll find someone who is very smart.
Oh, they're very intelligent people, and it's because they understand the science of nature, and they do. Almanacs are amazing. So where we're going is that a lot of technology overcame generational knowledge. It replaced it.
And I think it made it easier to confuse the point. I think it made it easier to I can't find the word I'm looking for, clearly by the long pauses I've got. But to use misdirection, to throw a bunch of other things at the
Very
voter.
good point. Very good point. And that brings me back to what I was saying about you. You have found outlets for data, for example, news outlets, that are less biased.
Yes, I've worked hard.
Yeah, you worked hard. So you have thought about it. Here we go thinking, folks, because we're talking about being an informed voter. Being an informed voter means you need to be informed about what the hell's going on in your world. And so rather than being told what to think, which Americans have fallen into a terrible trap, you decide to hear the conditions, the data, whatever. You're looking for example, news outlets that are more like the news outlets when I was a kid. They just reported the news. They didn't report how they felt about it. We didn't have a bunch of talking heads saying it was right or it was wrong. They just said, you're looking for people who are saying, this is what's happening, this is what it is, make up your mind.
It's, for me, the turning point was actually, I did a study abroad when I was in undergrad. And I studied over in Oxford, England. I studied Gothic cathedrals where I got to nerd out on architecture, and it was amazing. And while I was over there, there was an attempted terrorist attack on an airplane. And I got to see firsthand the difference in media coverage, because while I was there, every evening during the hour of evening news, they started, the first segment was about the terrorist attack. And it was, this is what happened. This is what we have done so far. This is what we think next steps are going to be. We'll tell you more when we know more. And it was maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes max. And then the next day, at the evening news hour, they would do the same thing. Okay, this is what we accomplished from yesterday. This is what happened. This is what we're doing next. This is what we think we're going to do after that. And it was very cut and dry. There was no hysteria. There was no fear-mongering. I felt very safe. We took a holiday 2 days later over to London, which is where the airport was, where this attempted terrorist attack was, and none of us felt unsafe. We stayed in a hostel. We did all of the things. We hung out. It was no big deal. Yet I had family calling me from the States going, are you safe? Are you alive? Are you okay? What is happening? We're hearing all of this stuff. The whole world is on fire. You have been kidnapped. And are you like, I mean, I'm of course being hyperbolic here, but
Actually,
not by a
no.
lot.
That's just it, not by a lot. Our media has become very histrionic. Our media learned that if you keep people emotionally high,
It needs ratings.
They buy time. They look at commercials. News has become a profit center, and this is unfortunate. It's a profit center.
But
it makes money. Now
but
we got
that was
24-hour news cycle. You got to say a bunch of bullshit.
And you've got to reiterate the same stuff over and over again. You've got to return it up. And so that was the turning point for me of how I began consuming knowledge differently. And it wasn't just with news. It was, quite frankly, how I felt about my religion, how I felt about my faith, how I felt about being a mom, I started reevaluating in my early 20s all sorts of things, which I am very proud of, and I'm glad that I did, because of that one big experience that made me go, I've been fed a lot of things.
Yep.
So what are we asking people? What are we telling people to do?
That participating in your own life takes time. You can go through life, let me finish. You can go through life and you can have people tell you what you should think, how you should feel, who you should vote for, and all the things you should be angry about. Or you can get to the core data and decide how you feel about things, what you think is important, who you think you should vote for. Because of a question we addressed what seems ages ago in our podcast, why? So if you get the information, and then you can ask why.
Which is what I was going to say. It's not just that it takes time, it takes discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Discerning what is actual knowledge versus not. For instance, I am one of the people that has been jumping up and down and screaming about interest rates. I have been one of the people that have been going, this is garbage, and this is a big problem, and we need to fix this, and this is part of the reason why I can't buy a house. There are a million other reasons, but, that's the one that I fixated on. And I think it's because that's the one that I felt like if I fixated on it long enough and I was loud enough about it, I could maybe change it.
Mm-hmm.
And I started researching and I started listening to people that didn't necessarily agree with me. And I started looking at a million different perspectives. And what I came to was, yes, interest rates are hurting things and hurting certain people. It's hurting people that already own mortgages, but they're on a variable rate. It's hurting people that were just on the cusp of being able to afford their first house and then lost it because of that interest rate. And so I'm not trying to undermine that they are hurting people. However, we are jumping up and down about the wrong thing. And I had to use my discernment and actually research it and look at it and go, that's a symptom.
There we go.
It's a bad symptom and it sucks.
Forgive me, I'm going to poke in here because you're tagging on something that's critically important. We talked about this in earlier episodes. Like when you get a cold's not curable. We know that. The symptoms are curable. Not really curable. They can be mitigated.
They're coverable.
Yeah.
Coverable.
So we can fix your...
I'm not sure if that's a real word.
I like it, though.
You're feverish, you got a runny nose, you sneeze a lot. We can fix those things. We can't cure the cold. That's a lost cause. But we already know that. There's a situation where you have to address the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
However, flu can be treated. Flu can be treated. Flu is something we can do pretty profound things with. We can shorten the life of the disease. We can do things about it. How do we approach things? We as Americans have been groomed to jump up and down and freak out over symptoms and focus on symptoms. And you're being taught to focus on symptoms because they know symptoms are bullshit. They know symptoms are reflecting what's really happening, and they don't want you to really look at what's really happening. Mm-hmm. They don't. And who are they? They're people. We're in a capitalist society, and I'm not dissing capitalism. I am saying capitalism in our nation, I think, is off the chain. But capitalism is now dictating how you're told things. You're told things in a manner that generates more money, that supports the people that pay for the platforms that tell you things. We have people that want to buy property. So they want to keep you jumping up and down and telling you that the best solution you have is to take advantage of all this equity you have in your home and sell it and take the money and run. We've got people telling you all kinds of crap. They're trying to get you to face symptoms. If you chase symptoms, you're going to be running around in circles the rest of your life. We've got to stop that. So we're getting back to the point of being informed, knowing what you're looking at. Now, in our last episode, we were talking about voting, how critical it is to vote, and finding out about the people you're voting for. First, don't go to places where somebody's telling you what the candidate's telling you. That's kind of stupid. That's like playing telephone in your second grade class. Every one of these people has a website. Go see what they have to say. They'll tell you. Mm-hmm. And here's what's funny. When you go there, you're going to find that some of them don't tell you anything. If they're telling you there's a big problem and I'm going to solve it, and you're sitting there waiting for how,
Or what?
yeah, then they're not your candidate because they're blowing sunshine up your butt. They just want to get into the position. You know?
I also think part of that and knowing your candidate and knowing what they're going for. It's also one of those that you said last episode too, that could be a fire hose of information and how you need to pick your battles at a time. So take small bites. You've already gotten a bite of the elephant. Now you got to take a smaller bite of the elephant to get to the bigger bites.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
You've got to
stop
slice
eating.
it.
Yeah.
You've got to slice up your steak once you got it on your plate.
Exactly. So, like, for instance, my brother-in-law, he has a very hard stance on one particular issue. And I'm not going to mention what issue it is, but he has a very hard stance on one particular issue. And that is the one issue he truly cares about. Because that's the one issue that he understands the most and that he has the strongest feelings for. Now, the next logical step is to go, okay, now that I've gotten that under control and I fully understand that issue and where I stand with that issue, is look at the next issue.
Yes.
And go, okay, where do I go from here? And start on that next issue. It, like you said, it takes time. It takes
gonna
years.
Take time. And that's another thing. And Zach, there's a lot to unpack here, folks. And doing this in 30-minute episodes, we're going to be doing this for a while. I hope one day we get to an episode a day, maybe, because we could still maybe start making a dent in it. Because it all requires you, our listeners. So now we're telling you vote, take advantage of voting. We're also telling you to vote intelligently. You need to be informed. But Zach, you're touching on something, and I love these words, feel. How do you feel about blank? Well, hell, I don't know how I feel. Feeling is funny. Feelings can be deceitful. Feelings can be terribly misguiding. How do we feel about something? That's an emotion. And I'm not telling you to be, unemotional automatons, but I'm telling you, pay attention to yourself. You know what's going on in your head. For example, here's a prime one. And everybody's going to hate me for this, but deal with it. You can tell I'm really worried. Joe Biden keeps saying the economy is a rock. Folks, the economy is a rock. Aaron and I, two different generations, we've looked at it. The economy is a rock. Now, why is it a rock? Our GDP, which we covered a couple episodes ago, is higher than it was projected to be if COVID had not existed. That all happened in Joe's term. That was a massive thing he did. Everybody said that the infrastructure bill was going to wreck our nation. It didn't. It turbocharged the economy. We have the healthiest economy on Earth, not, on this hemisphere. I mean, in the entire planet. We have the healthiest economy in the entire planet. That does not discount the fact that you're feeling high prices in grocery stores. That doesn't discount the fact that you're seeing high interest rates. So there are other symptoms of other things that have to tell you, is this administration wrong, or is the good thing they have done being mishandled or assaulted? Yes, it is. Because there are people that don't want the economy healthy for you on a consumer level. It's not lucrative. It's not lucrative. Now, do some prices need to go up? Yes, they do. That's another episode. If we get wages where they're supposed to be, naturally it's going to cost more to harvest. If wages get where they need to be,
however,
construction's going to be a little higher.
Not that much though, because if you look at the difference between how McDonald's handles their employees in the Netherlands versus here, they get paid drastically more per hour. They get benefits. Their food is better quality over there, and yet their Big Mac, I believe, is $1 more than it is here.
I get it. No, you're right. That's absolutely true. And we're
They just choose to squeeze the life out of people.
If a franchisor can come out and tell you your Big Mac is going to be $22 if we give everybody a proper wage,
which is a lot,
then you're freaking out. And not only do you not want proper wages, but unions are the cause of the problem. Well, unfortunately, that's not true. So many things you're being told simply are not true. For example, cars. Unions, cars are expensive. Conversely, we have lower deaths per 1,000 accidents than anywhere in the world. Our cars are safer. They're remarkably safer. Not getting dead really appeals to me. I like not being dead. Now, if you buy a used car, it's still a very safe used car. We have been the safest cars in the world for decades. We get better gas mileage. We have lower emissions. We are attacking things because we are a car society. Are we doing things perfectly? But no, it has cost our society some money. It has cost us value. I'm so sick and tired of us talking about what we can't afford. When all the things we cannot afford children going hungry. We cannot afford education taking a dive. We cannot afford people living on the streets. We cannot afford substandard construction. We cannot afford so many frickin' things that we sit by and we let idly go by. The fact is the economy is strong. There are other things at play. Now, what I wanted to talk about, and I'll open this back up, in our last episode we were talking about your generation and the things you're experiencing and that they're tough, and they are. I'm not discounting that. I also pointed out that I have a concern about how I'm going to retire, what I'm going to do. It is a big concern for me, and if John were here, he would say the same thing. What that's saying is we're all experiencing the same stuff. We're all experiencing different versions of the same problem. What does that tell us? Tear down the barriers. Quit this crap. Okay, boomer, or okay, millennial, or okay, Gen Xer.
And honestly,
no more.
There's always been a rift between generations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to say it's a brand new thing, because hippies were not understood by your parents. Like, I don't want to say it's a new thing. However, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is my perception and
Sure.
I didn't live through it. So I'm asking this as a question, not as a statement. It seems to me that within the last 10 years, this whole smear campaign against millennials and then our response back with this okay boomer bullshit, it feels like it's so much bigger than it used to be. This
Good point.
This rift between generations feels a lot bigger.
It is contrived.
And it feels more antagonistic than it used to be.
And why would that be?
Because we're pitted against each other on purpose.
And that sells commercials. That buys time. That buys your attention. If we can keep you fighting, you're not looking at the problem. Mm-hmm. You're looking at the symptom. Folks, everything comes back to we are getting avalanched with symptoms and shiny things.
And misinformation.
Misinformation. Shiny things are keeping us from looking at the core problems. That's why voting is critical. That's why what Aaron said, think about what is a concern to you, what matters. And then when you look at these candidates and their platforms, do they say anything that makes sense? And let's talk about the magic wand theory. I love the magic wand theory. There's this idea that the president has a magic wand. It is not. As a matter of fact, the president basically is the chief executive officer. He comes up with ideas. If he gets enough backing from the American people, theoretically, through the elected representatives, then those ideas get traction or they get investigation. That's why the infrastructure bill was so successful, remarkably successful. It's kind of interesting. We talk about, well, I won't even get into that. That's another thing. But so many of these things were so successful. They're very successful, and yet you're still not feeling. You're not feeling. We're getting back to feelings. You're not feeling that the economy is that strong. It is incumbent upon you to find out why. Why can you accept the fact, and not why can you accept, you should be able to do a little research and accept the fact that the economy is strong. These figures are coming from very nonpartisan, I'm sorry, folks, they're bean counters. They're the least exciting people in the world. They are pure numbers, pluses and minuses. The Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, is what puts these out.
However, I do appreciate and understand every time I see or someone else sees one of these articles declaring how strong the economy is and how buying buying is up and blah, 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 my hackles go up.
Yeah.
And I get defensive because it's like, what the F? I am drowning. My grocery budget has had to increase, or we've had to pull back on groceries, which we didn't make more money, so what we buy has had to decrease.
And that is precisely why I want to do exactly that. That feeling that comes up is not really a feeling. It is a call, it's a clarion to investigate. Why? If you can accept, okay, just for a minute, look at the figures. The economy is solid. The economy is a rock. Why are groceries off the chain?
So we're talking a lot about the problems and you need to research, and that's all. What we need to give them some ideas on how to, like where to start with your research. Because right now we've talked a lot about the problem, and like we talked about that call to action. Where can they go? What's the first place? Can you tell me you say you look at unbiased news sources.
So,
what's an unbiased news source you go to?
The 1440 is my news source. They mail the news directly to your inbox every day. And each headline, so to speak, is a paragraph long because it doesn't have opinion to it. It is strictly, this is what has happened.
Here's the facts, ma'am.
And if there are next steps, here are the next steps. That's it.
So the 1440, does that cover world news? Does that cover local news? What does it cover?
It's mostly the United States, but sometimes you do get world news in it.
Okay.
Of course, and there's other things. For example, where you were talking about, because, you've got a little person, and Ethan is... he's
a bigger person.
He is a bigger person with
but with the same mindset.
Yes, he and the little person both can consume groceries, but groceries are expensive. Where do you look? And unfortunately for this episode, I should be better prepared. But the fact of the matter is, why are prices going up?
Actually, no, I have an answer to that. Where do you look at the difference between packaging sizes and pricing. They've actually got that. There's several articles about it now where they're talking about Cheez-Its.
My favorite, the first one.
Cheez-Its, for instance, in the packaging used to, I'm pulling numbers out of my butt because I don't have them memorized, but the packaging used to be like 12 ounces. Now for the exact same price, they're 8 ounces.
Yes.
So you're actually getting less food for this quote-unquote same price, and that is how they've been able to capitalize on their profit margins, which is why they're saying that they've made the greatest profits this year. They made record profits, and last year they made record profits, and the year before they made record profits. There's actually a lot that's going on that for instance, Tesla just fired a lot of people. And the very next day, they did huge stock buybacks. And Elon Musk asked for a huge either increase in salary or bonus or something. Right now, that's something that's going on is these companies that are touting record profits are now firing huge quantities of people and then doing stock buybacks. It's how they're manipulating the system right now to pay their stockholders and pay their, C-suites huge dividends.
It's funny. There were two things when I was a kid, and of course, my wife and I. It's what we remember. You're going to go to the store, pick up a pound of coffee. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a pound of coffee anymore. A pound of coffee is no longer a pound of coffee. It's 3/4 of a pound of coffee. They did that years ago, and they did it. And nobody noticed it. I didn't notice it. It was like 10 years past when they did it. And I went, oh, wow, that's not 16 ounces. It's like, holy crap. Are you kidding me? It was a half gallon of ice cream. That was the deal. Half gallon of ice cream. Mm-hmm. No, it's not a half gallon of ice cream. It's, and you're right. That was the first thing they did. So you have to ask the question, and this is a great one. And Zach, part of it is, where do you look? Just open your eyes. You have to ask the question, what Aaron was saying, how is it the economy is strong? How is it you're struggling with consumer pricing? And yet, company after company after company is having record profits, believe it or not, starting during COVID. How is it during COVID we had loosely 300 billionaires in the United States, and now, 4 years later, we have over 1,000 billionaires in the United States? How did that happen?
I would say
I think that's what you're feeling.
this is something that I do, that I adopted years ago. When I see anything as small as a meme, as big as a news article, if it makes me angry, I look into it and I dig into it. I try and Google the why. I try and research, okay, why is this happening? Okay, the economy's strong. Explain to me why. Explain to me what that means. Or, what's going on with grocery pricing or whatever. Also, I am just as critical as the other side. If I see a meme that looks too good to be true, and what I mean by that is it satisfies all those ugly, petty feelings inside me that I go, oh, yeah, I really hope that congressperson that I hate said that horrible thing. I hope that they put their foot in their mouth. I go, that makes me feel a little too good. Did that person actually say that? And I just do a quick search. Did this happen? And it's just, I think the first step is being more critical of the information being fed to you. I don't even think it's taking on the task of, I'm going to deep research all of these things that are very, very important to me, because that can be very overwhelming. I think the first thing is just be more critical of all the information fed to you, good or bad.
I want to say this episode was brought to you by the words critical and fed. This is really important. I mean, you have touched on something, and it's pissing me off. And we're begging you, be aware of what's going on, because you are being fed crap.
And
in droves. And critical thinking has been driven in the toilet. It's been given it's like a dirty word. There's nothing wrong with questioning authority. My generation questioned authority.
Just don't question your mother.
You should question authority.
Moose.
Yeah, you should question everything. And like Aaron said, if this thing tags that petty feeling inside that you really, I'm sorry, anything that's written about what's her face, Marjorie Taylor Greene. If I hear she was hit by a bus, it just tickles me to death. I mean, I don't want harm for anybody except her. And that isn't true. I just don't like the venom that she, spews. Conversely, is all the crap that comes out of her face true?
Or that's purported to come out.
Yeah, I would rather look and see what she really said, especially when I look at video, and say, oh yeah, she said that stupid thing, but I saw her do it. Nobody told me. I saw it.
The wild thing about her is 9 out of 10 times, 9.999% of the time,
yeah, it's true. But I mean, it's
but there is that 0.0001% of the time.
But you need to do that with the bad guys. You need to do that with the good guys. Everybody needs to be kept honest.
And you need to do that with your own. And because what's happening and what we're unable to see through, and the reason this matters, I'll get to in one moment, so bear with me, is there is aggression being stirred continuously, whether it's Democrats versus Republicans, millennials versus boomers, young mothers versus old mothers. Like, there was a whole debate about Mother's Day that grandmothers shouldn't be honored and it's only for young moms and blah, blah. Like, really? Now we're making Mother's Day a battleground? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everything's becoming a battleground, and it's why it's important to pay attention to that and to not feed into it is because it's why we're not uniting. We were just talking in the last episode that when people unite, whether it's formally as a union, whether it's informally in a voting booth, or in a mob with pitchforks, because we can all do that too. When people unite in groups and they unite their voices, they can make change. If they're continually put in situations where divisive tactics keep them against one another, they're never going to unite. If I see you as, oh, well, you're just on the political spectrum opposite me, so you must be garbage, or you look different than me, or your accent is different than mine, or you were born in a different generation than me, or you chose blue collar instead of white collar, or the opposite, or whatever. Stop seeing it as that and just, you're a human struggling and I'm a human struggling. Are we struggling with the same thing?
Better than
Let's
even
unite
odds.
together.
We're struggling with the same things.
Now, I heard something years ago that you just reminded me of. This was like high school. I don't even remember where I heard it, but I remember in high school talking about mobs. There was something that I read that was like, said, if you find yourself in a mob and you don't know, you realize that you don't fully understand why you're all angry, look for the guy selling you the pitchforks.
Yeah.
That's great.
That is great.
Because he's probably the one who started it.
So I guess at the very last minute, now that we're about to close this out, I'm changing step number 2.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. Last episode, step number 1, we were talking about, voting and being informed and researching who you're voting for. I think step number 2 is taking a step back and recognizing the derision, the division, and saying, I'm not going to play into that. And I'm going to be more thoughtful about what information I am consuming. Is this true? Is this real? The person across the table from me is just another person. Are they struggling along with me? We don't have to be at odds.
We will close out this episode with just that. The people that desperately want a certain outcome in this election, which is not to your benefit, they thrive on something, and it's a phrase you may have heard, and I'm telling you, don't be one. They will win with low information voters. That's how they win. Low information voters don't take the time to look. They are told what to think, told who to vote for, and I'm sorry, I have fundamental problems when I look at certain people, and in this particular case, Donald Trump. And this isn't a matter of, but the other guy is Joe Biden, they're both old farts, blah, 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 what a load of bullshit. The fact is, I'm sorry, a person that's being convicted actively on a number of levels, a person that took national secrets and didn't want to give them back, or forgetting, fought to keep them, so they had to raid his house and take them, a man that steps out on his wife. I'm sorry, in business, I learned a long time ago, don't have a business partner. They cheat on their wife, they'll cheat on you. And folks, if they'll cheat on their wife, they'll cheat on you, the American people. Ethics are gone. Our society has devolved to a place where now it's not a matter of, is it ethical, is it legal? Well, a lot of things are legal. They are damn sure not ethical. You have a responsibility. Look at your own ethics. Can this person, would you have them babysit your kid? Would you have this person make decisions for your life? Would you trust this person to follow through with something they've committed to you? And you need to really ask yourself. Don't blow sunshine up your own ass. I mean, that's hard to do, but still, contorting and everything, but still, that's the truth. Don't be a low information voter. Pay attention. Ask questions. And more than anything, don't think. I'm hearing Christians talk about, this person, they held the Bible upside down. They called it 2 Corinthians, which always kills me. It's the start of a great joke. 2 Corinthians, walk into a bar.
Wonderful book.
Yeah.
Best book
ever. He's never cracked the thing and looked in it. Yet, we know he's a problem, but he's going to give us what we want. You think so? Really? Don't be stupid. Just people pay attention, investigate, ask questions. If you follow through with your original position, at least now you know you're doing it because you thought about it. That it wasn't a reflex, it was a response.
Mm-hmm.
Be responsive. On that cherry note, Zach.
All right. Well, on that, we're going to end today's episode. So you've been listening to Newhouse Knows Where You Go When You Need to Know. The camera zooms out as we're putting our papers together.
We need more than
And we're putting the pause. Hey everyone, it's your favorite button pusher here. Listen, we're taking a short break next week so that we can hit the ground running for the rest of the summer. So, next week, go back, listen to some of your favorite episodes, share our episodes, rate and review us online, because that's how our numbers get up, is if other people could see us. If you rate and review us, that's the most important thing you can do for us right now. You can also follow us on our social media accounts. We are on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're everywhere. So go find us, like us, share us, review us, and remember, we're taking a short break next week, so go back and listen to some of your favorite episodes. Talk to you soon. Bye!